Mr. Watts, he's armed himself. Shots. Shots. Watch it. Tear gas. Live rounds. Also, I can see that.
Just for Quindon!
That man is a boxer, man. Why can't you put in a boxer, man, to do that?
But why since my cousin there, no, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to
Right?
you.
Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, we want to see nobody for justice. You see? I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice of my family.
I get visitors all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you all have visitors. This is Joker. Who is that Joker? That piece of plum. They know who they with you know.
Mr. Watts, he's armed himself. Shots. Shots. Watch it. Tear gas. Live rounds. Also, I can see that.
Just for Quindon!
That man is a boxer, man. Why can't you put in a boxer, man, to do that?
But why since my cousin there, no, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come on the East
You
Coast.
listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to
Right?
you.
Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, we want to see nobody for justice. You see? I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice of my family.
I get visitors all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you all have visitors. This is Joker. Who is that Joker? That piece of plum. They know who they with you know.
I compare and contrast, and let me tell you fast. And in my conclusion, I see some black men as jack ass, but since the days of slavery, black man heart is hard like stone, cause it's black man who make black man grown. Cause black man never like your own. That's why this last election, crook grieving. Look at how all you treat Patrick Manning. The way all you cuss him, run him and tell him go. I never see the Indian street pass the pandit so. When pandit deep and magnificent switch by the tail, Indians went and the candlelight pictured by the jail. So on behalf of a few good niggas that I know, all you should never ever treat me somebody so. Shame on you, Dada. They're all marked out and they'll run cock and obika. The way all you destroy the black brother, you are for prostitutes of black power. Look at how all you get weak. Mark out I know choking in me, could hardly speak. I'm so disappointed in you, black man. All you said that late bottom African. All you have shame. Give back the African man his name. You get a big white police commissioner. Where are the advocates of black power? Massive cosign here, and Ricky Jai. They never see them put tears in basket and they eye to the first to Oscar B and crazy. You must understand. All of them is late bottom African. All you sell we out. Look at all you have black people suffer it all about. I waited for all you for emancipation. Hypocrisy, lying, late bottom African. Chalky did vex with Valley, but Chalky should apologize publicly. Cause this hypocrite that she killed. Valley was right to call all you muck. Cause no woman who wears an ovary voted against the UNC. But Hazel Brown, which she had wrap up on Dukaran platform voting for cup. How come Chucky never ever sing about this? No songs about this superior abortionists. But he make Eric Williams Chambers and Patrick Grieve. Any black government pound them till they leave. For 20 years, Patrick was the boss of the land. He lost and went back to his humble home in Copoland. But in 6 months, I'm not sure you won Mako Congolo. Well, you should never ever treat me somebody so. Shame on Hazel Brown. Look how you have that woman head dragging on the ground. If Rosa Parks was alive, yeah, where she'd do? Yeah, you in the back at the bus and start to pinch you. So, on you brown I frown, give back the African, the head wrap and gum. I'm so disappointed in you, woman. Another late bottom African. All your air has shame. On this note, I must call Bona Centro's name. S-class, all you ain't got. Remember, Jesus Christ talked about harlots and sluts. Take example from the Indian people. They still have Pascal Pandey on a paper cut. So Cleveland Raphael, Andy Johnson, and sprung along. All of them is late bottom African. All you sell we out. Look at all you have people crying all over South. I waited for all you for emancipation. Hypocrite, lying, late bottom African. Remember Narayan Singh? People feel that he should swing. They even free partner Shama and still want to destroy Abu Bakr. And in a taxi, I hear a man say, Ishan them ain't going away. But if it was a little black boy from Lavanti, he would have been on the plane already. And how come I ain't hearing anybody? Why they go protest like 1970? Where is Kafra Kambon and Orogo Ome? These so-called black conscious men are not to the same. When I see Macau and them, I don't feel to cry. Macau wearing shitty suit with jacket and tie, he forget wrong neck jersey, and now we're in tuxedo. Or you should never ever treat me somebody so. Is that set of fake for a couple $1,000 or the king gold break? Dr. Fido Black always used to tell me that the black man is the black man's worst enemy. Leram Kepalani run the country. The driver can't drive when it was Robbie. I'm so disappointed in you, black man. Your white-bearded late bottom African. All your air has shame. Get back the African man his name. You should be complaining to him, should be off the scene. You want to go up Lavanti and Villa latrine, you find that the poor must sit in the cold and Kamala could sit by remote control. And so disappointed in you black man, all you said that late for South African, all you sell we out, look how all your people suffering all about. I even get Tobago have their own champion. I thought that is a late for South African. So, on you brown I from, give back the African, the head wrap and gum. I'm so disappointed in you, woman. Another late for South African. All your hair has shaved. On this note, I must call Bona Centro's name. It's class. All you ain't got. Remember, Jesus Christ talked about harlots and sluts. Take example from the Indian people. They still have Pascal Pandey on a paper cut. So even Raphael, Andy Johnson, and sprung along. All of them is late bottom African. All you sell we out. Look at all your people crying all over South. I waited for all you for emancipation. Hypocrite, lying, late bottom African. Remember Narayan sing? People feel that he should swing. They even free partner Shama and still want to destroy Abu Bakr. And in a taxi, I hear a man say, Ishandem ain't going nowhere. But if it was a little black boy from Lavanti, he would have been on the plane already. And how come I ain't hearing anybody? Why they do protest like 1970? Where is Kafra Kambon and Orugo Ome? These so-called black conscious men are not to the same. When I see McLeod and them, I just feel a cry. McLeod wearing trippy suit with jacket and tie, he forget wrong neck jersey, and now wearing tuxedo. Oh, you should never ever treat me somebody so. Is that set a fake for a couple $1,000 or the king gold break? Dr. Fido Black always used to tell me that the black man is the black man's worst enemy. The ram Lani run the country. The driver can't drive when it was Robbie. I'm so disappointed in you, black man. Your white-bearded late South African. All your hair has shame. Get back the African man his name. You should be complaining, Dwayne should be off the scene. You want to go up Lavanti and build a tree. You find that the poor must sit in the cold and Kamala could sit by remote control. I'm so disappointed in you, black man. All you said that late for South African. All you sell we out. Look how all your people suffering all about. I even get Tobago have their own champion. I thought that is a late for South African. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Watts, he's armed himself shots. Shots, watch it, tear gas. Live rounds. Also, I can see that.
Justice for Quindon!
Everyone is a boxer, man. Why can't you put in the boxer, man, to do that?
But since my cousin there is no you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to
Right?
you.
Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, we want to see nobody for justice. You see? I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice for my family.
I get visitors all of a sudden. All of a sudden, you all have visitors.
This is Joker. Who is that joker? That piece of plum. They know who to deal with, you know.
Unity. My PM asks for unity. It's a lovely request, but who the hell he trying to fool? When members of the UNC have shown Trinbagonians blatantly that their mission in life is simply divide and rule. Cause when I look around Trinbago, I just can't see how many people could live in unity when there's segregation caused by racialism. So long as we still have people who pushing hate, the little money they have make them feel they're great, and they feel Africans are inferior. You can't have unity, you'll have civil war. Cause if a Hindu priest could say bluntly, time that Hindus have their own bank, it means that Africans don't have money. Them alone could pull all the rank. The little daughter could date a Chinese, a Syrian or a white man. But if she ever date an African, he will never have grandchildren. He said that the PNM government had a plan to Douglas the land. So they build the schools in a way to force Indian children to sit next to Africans. I have to see Satmaraj and a Dashiki for I to believe that they're serious about unity. The Indians and Africans living in this land under same circumstance was oppressed by the white man. But they volunteer while we were captured, sold and brought here. We were considered as slaves, but history said they were indentured. Yet through it all, we still stick together in sun and rain. On the plantation where we cut the cane, it didn't have no party. Was love and harmony. But politicians have we brains all inflated. They keep fanning the flames of hatred long before it had a UNC. You and I was living in unity. But now they talking about ethnic cleansing. They say we must stick to we own kind. But the old people, they have a saying that time is longer than twine. Africans supports Indians religiously. Anything they have, we right there. For when they celebrate Eid and Diwali, we build Jose and Lydia. We children does go to the prayers and eat parasad, regardless how big or small. But if a Baptist have a Thanksgiving on the block, they don't send the children at all. When I keep Shango feast and they come by me, then I go believe they're ready for unity. Some Calypsonians today are being used by some Indians, and me afraid to call name. I'm talking about Brother Marvin. For a few penny, He desecrate African history. Then try to mama guy we saying he promoting unity. He proclaimed to be so proud to be part seed of India. He big up his grandma and pa, but I was ignorant to claim African descendant. Big shortly contest, I prove him to be an ass. When the judges said he came to last, all the love they love Ija Haji by, he still couldn't defeat Sonny Man nor Ricky Jai. But in the Dimashra competition, they found that brother Marvin got robbed. They never see Crow as the champion. The major didn't do a good job. So Sat Maharaj invite Marvin down central, put a gallant around his neck, then told the children that was their monarch, but no motor car and no check. He then instruct the children not to listen. Crow, not this butcher from Port of Spain. I hear he translate 2 songs for Charlene Budram like he hate Calypso again. Until I hear soca playing on Sangi Daily, then I go believe they're ready for unity. I mean, hear this. When you want unity, you have to treat each one equally. Be it African, Syrian, white man or Chinese, cosmopolitan is the status of this twin island. So why the hell Sat Maharaj washing him out on African? I think it's time someone put this big belly man in his place. Cause we all belong to the human race in the eyes of the Creator. No one is greater. So Mr. Pandey, it's time that you play your hand and make Sat Maharaj to understand. If it wasn't for 2 jackass African, you would have never be Prime Minister of this land. So when Sat Maharaj preaching racialism, he must remember Pam and Robbie. Think about John Humphrey and Kwaitung. They are part of the UNC. So if an African and an Indian join the bonds of matrimony, there shouldn't be no discrimination. That's an example of unity. Years ago, when an Indian girl reached 12 or 13, they will find she a husband. But it's not so nowadays. Them girls say it pays to run away with an African. If Sat Maharaj gets some water from Palm or Daphne, he might understand the sweetness of unity. Maharaj washing him out on African. I think it's time someone put this big belly man in his place. Cause we all belong to the human race in the eyes of the Creator. No one is greater. So Mr. Pandey, it's time that you play your hand and make Sat Maharaj to understand. If it wasn't for 2 jackass African, you would have never be Prime Minister of this land. Cause we all belong to the human race in the eyes of the Creator. No one is greater. So Mr. Pandey, it's time that you play your hand and make Sat Maharaj to understand. If it wasn't for 2 jackass African, you would have never be Prime Minister of this land. Of this twin island. So why the hell Sat Maharaj washing him out on African? I I think it's time someone put this big belly man in his place. Cause we all belong to the human race in the eyes of the Creator. No one is greater. So Mr. Pandey, it's time that you play your hand and make Satmaraj to understand. If it wasn't for two jackass African, you would have never be prime minister of this land. So when Satmaraj preaching racialism, he must remember Pam and Robbie. Think about John Humphrey and Kwaitung. They are part of the UNC. So if an African and an Indian join the bonds of matrimony, there shouldn't be no discrimination. That's an example of unity. Years ago, when an Indian girl reached 12 or 13, they will find she a husband. But it's not so nowadays. Them girls say it pays to run away with an African. If Satmaraj gets some water from Palm or Daphne, he might understand the sweetness of unity.
Oh boy, as the Chinese would say, oh boy, Kaiso, Kaiso, two jackass Africans. And we got some jackass Africans in Guyana. If it wasn't for two jackass Africans, you would have never become Prime Minister, Mr. Pandey. And we in Guyana get some jackass Africans. I hope the Chronicle is here tonight. I hope the ERC is here tonight. One more charge. Jackass Africans. Oh, Lado, the belly at me. Welcome to the Chronicle, the Guyana Chronicle. Welcome to Politics 101. Irfan Ali, welcome to Politics 101. Jack Dio, welcome to Politics 101. German Figuera, welcome to Politics 101. Tonight we're going to be talking about jackass Africans. Thank God for Kaiso. Thank God for Kaiso. Thank God for Kaiso. I know when you see the Lord was giving us gifts, he gave me plenty. He gave us Kaiso. Put licks on them. If it wasn't for two jackass Africans, we get about 22 jackass Africans in Guyana. 22. Good evening to the jackass Africans. Good evening to the lick Bamsey bottom Africans. Good evening. It's so good to be alive. If I do nothing more in my life, if they take me tomorrow or tonight, I will die satisfied that I call out the jackass Africans and the lick bottom Africans. I love the Trinis them, you know. I love them bad. I love the Trinis them bad. I love them bad. I love them bad. Yay, bye.
Would I never be Prime Minister of this land? One is greater. So Mr. Pandey, it's time that you play your hand and make Satmaraj to understand. If it wasn't for two jackass African, you would have never be Prime Minister of this land. So when Satmaraj preaching racialism, he must remember Pam and Robbie. Think about John Humphrey and Kwaitung. They are part of the UNC. So if an African and an Indian join the bonds of matrimony, there shouldn't be no discrimination. That's an example of unity. Years ago, when an Indian girl reached 12 or 13, they will find she a husband. But it's not so nowadays. Them girls say it pays to run away with an African. If that Maraj get some water from Palm or Daphne, he might understand the sweetness of unity.
Oh, this story is sweet, subtle. This story is sweet, subtle. Jackass African. A jackass African. And we get them where we want them. You know, I became a student of Calypso in 1972. Those of you from Buxton know, you all know I grew up near Rum Shop, Rubber Rum Shop, Portuguese man, Rubber Rum Shop, and they're always playing Calypso on the jukebox. And one night I was listening to the radio, and Ken Cosby, who's now deceased, used to do a late night program called Night Ride. And he had Dr. Gordon Rollier, a professor, Guyanese professor who was teaching in Trinidad, and who is the scholar, the preeminent scholar of Kaiso. And I heard that man trace the history of Trinidad from 1956 to 1972 using the calypsos of the Mighty Sparrow. I was 12 or 13 then. And I said, what? This is for real Kaiso is? Because I hear in Calypso all the time, but I never knew the thing was that serious. And from that time, I started to listen to Calypso and became a student of Calypso. And today I teach Calypso. I teach reggae music. I teach the lyrics. And for those jackasses who don't understand nothing about nothing, the other man named Mr. Jeffrey from Boston, Big J, he said, young boy, they don't know nothing about nothing. Big J, they know nothing but nothing. So they don't know about Kaiso. Thank you to the brother who sent me this Kaiso, this Calypso by Sugar Aloes, Unity. Thanks for it. I had listened to it. In 1997 is when Sugar Aloes did this Calypso. And I'd forgotten about it. And thank you, brother. And I want to invite those of you, I know Keith Beresford and others who are students of Calypso, to send me, when you all find one that is appropriate, send me them, because Kaiso sending them mad. Before that, we heard the Mighty Crocro, the midget, Lick Bottom Africans. So we get two tonight. We played Lick Bottom Africans, and then we played Jackass Africans. Welcome to the ERC. Welcome to the ERC. Welcome to the Guyana Chronicle. I know you all are covering me. I want plenty more headlines because you're all helping me to do my work. You're all helping me to do my work. You're all spreading the gospel to the corners of Guyana. Every little child in Guyana, every big person in Guyana now know how to identify lick bottom Africans and jackass Africans. So you all give me another headline tomorrow. Dr. David Hines insults Africans by calling them jackass Africans. You all get the headline. Somebody sent me a link today that Member of Parliament Jobain Figueira has condemned me for calling African people lick bottom Africans. I'll tell you something. I know Jermaine. He's a young boy that I like. I like young people who get into politics. I like him. And I'm going to give Jermaine a pass because when I read what Jermaine said, I know Jermaine don't understand the gravity of what I am dealing with. I give him a pass. He don't understand. When I read what he said, he doesn't understand. And so I will give him a pass. I'm not going to ask you all to give you a pass, but there's a hard one. There's a hard one. That's a hard one. Jermaine, bye. You're a good guy. You're a good guy, but you're falling into the trap, boy. You're falling into the. I'm not going to put you in the category of jackass African or lick bottom African. I'll give you a pass, Jermaine, because at least you're still on the team. You're still on the team, you know. But try and understand something before you comment on it. Somebody can be a racist when they're criticizing people of their own group. There's a term we use for it, but I won't give you, Jermaine. I'm keeping it for the ERC. Jermaine, I went to Howard University. I did my master's there, and I did my PhD. And when you go to Howard and other HBCUs, you get a black education. You get a black education. You learn race. You learn what is race. You learn the definition of race. And I learned it at Howard, and I've gone on to teach it for over 3 decades. I know about, I am an expert on race. I appeared for Freddie Kissoon when Jack Dio sued him. I appeared as an expert witness on race because Freddie Kissoon said that Jack Dio was an ideological racist. And I appeared on behalf of Freddie Kissoon to give evidence on his behalf and to explain to the court why Freddie Kissoon was right. I was cross-examined by the late, great Bernard DeSantos. People said it was one of the easiest cross-examination. They felt that it's either Santos went light on me or I was talking sense. So Santos didn't zero on me. But the point I'm making is that I know what is race. I know what is racism. Racism is when someone of one ethnic group believes that his or her ethnic group is superior to another ethnic group. Racism is when someone of an ethnic group has prejudices against another ethnic group and then gets political power and uses that power to further their prejudice against another ethnic group. When people of an ethnic group speaking to one another, that's not racism. They got another name for it. I'm telling them, I'm waiting for the trial where I can school them. Dr. Hines is being divisive. Dividing who? Dividing who? Dr. Hines is crusading against the PPP who are dividing Africans between good Africans and jackass Africans, between good Africans and lick bottom Africans. They are the ones who are doing the dividing. They are the ones who should be before ERC, not me. I am trying to breach the divide. I'm trying to say to my black brothers mainly, don't be jackass Africans. I fought and went to jail for the right of these brothers to belong to a party of their choice. In the 1970s, if you belong to the WPA, they jail you. They knock you off. And we fought for the right for people to belong to any party they want to belong. The fact that some of these guys could belong to the PPP today is because of people like me. I spent 39 months in jail so that these guys can belong to whatever party they belong. And I will protect and defend their right to belong to any party that they want to belong to. When Dr. Jagan told the WPA in the 1970s that we must not go into the Indian areas, Dr. Jagan, yes, as we tell we stay in the black areas, don't go to the Indian areas. We fought for the right for any party to go into Indian area or black area. And I will fight and preserve that right till the day I die. What I didn't go to jail for, what I didn't fight for, what Walter Rodney did not die for, and Oini Kwame and Edward Dublin, what they did not die for, what Ogunse and David Hines and Godfrey Sage and Kwame Apata, what we didn't go to jail for is for Africans to go into African communities and carry gifts and carry resources from the state and give it to young African people and say, here is this $200,000, give me your vote. That is vote buying. I didn't go to jail for that. I didn't take beat up for them. And so, I am waging jihad against that. I am waging war against that. I did not go to jail for that. I am standing at the gate and I'm saying, no lick bottom, no lick bottom is welcomed. No jackass African is welcome. And I tell you, if they kill me tomorrow, I will die a happy man. Thank all of you who, without me telling you all on Facebook, on Instagram, and you all skinning them up. Lick bottom Africans. And you can add now, jackass Africans. They thought that when they put the thing in the newspaper and said David Hines respecting Africans, all you would have jumped up and said, oh God, David Hines wrong. But they get the surprise of their life. You know, because they think that they get you all in some corner, that you're all so stupid. And they were surprised. I hear Ali calling left, right, and center, telling them they have to do damage control because the thing backfire upon them. They think that they were going to get 5,000 Africans. They now won't get 5. And you know, I'm not doing this for any glory. As I always say, the blessings I've gotten in life are more than I ever thought I would get, given where I come from. Given where I come from, I get so much blessing. I can give away. I can give away blessings. So I'm not doing this for popularity. I think I'm popular already. Any part of Guyana I go, people know me. Me, I don't know it's for nothing. But I'm standing at the gate and saying, no lick bottom shall enter, no jackass Africans will enter. Not here. Good evening to all of you. I love you all. And maybe some of us could say that without fear. All of us are political people, and all of us are at different points. That is why we blend together. I can say lick bottom Africans. I've earned that right. I am an African, and I never, ever, ever, ever deny it. I don't wear dashiki only on emancipation. I wear it every day. I study African history, African politics, African culture, among other things. And so I could say it. Good evening to all of you. I love you all so much. I love you all. Keep sucking it to them, suck it to them, suck it to them. You all keep doing that because there is past Africans. There is past Africans. I see my brother Kwesi Ojinga is on here tonight. Good evening, Jambo and Dugo Kwesi. These are men who changed their name, the slave name, and they take on the African. They are Africans. They are Africans. You all don't think Rickford Burke is here. Rickford Burke is here. Rickford is here. Leslie, good evening, sister. Good evening, Selvin Benjamin. Good evening. Good evening. Rickford Burke is here. Oh, you saw the fight he had last night with brother. Yeah, I know you all don't like the fact that Rickford and me bring on James Bond, but James Bond is my friend. He's my friend, and he's Rickford's friend. And neither Rickford nor I vex because Rain Bond gone to the PPP, and James Bond knows that. He knows that. What I'm vexed with is whether knowingly or unknowingly James is telling black people, if you want development, come to the PPP. That's where I fall out with James politically. But James is my friend. And I bring you on, and Rickford bring you on, really to give him a chance to say, look, I'm PPP, but I am drawing the line here. We want to help James. I don't want to see James go down in history as a jackass African or a leg bottom African. And I know Rickford the same. We bring him on not to tell him, come back by. You depend on him, you done gone already. We brought him on to give him a chance to redeem himself. If I take God out me thoughts and say me going and join the PPP, me myself give you all permission. Lynch me. Lynch me. Lynch me. How can these guys believe that black people are so stupid that they can deb on we side calling other people leg bottom, calling other people jackass, and now they're gone with those other people and expect nobody to say something? They believe he's so stupid. I know I can wait. I know if I say join the PPP tomorrow, or you will lynch me. Much more if I come back in the community and say, I'm buying you all vote. You all will throw me at the bottom of the ocean, and you all will have every right to do so. Crazy will have to come and pray and beg of you. The fact that they believe that they could do that and not get caught, something wrong with them. Something wrong with them. They feel that we are jackasses. We are not. We're not jackasses. Rickford Burke is here, and we're going to be talking tonight. We're going to be talking tonight. Good evening to all my people from Buxton Village, East Coast, Demerara. Good evening to all you wonderful people. Mojo, good evening. Mr. Harper, good evening. Mr. Turkey Bumba, good evening. You know, those boys, they were reminding me about an hour ago that a differently able chap, he comes from the Dolphin family. He was shot by an Indian man in Strathspey a couple of months ago. The man claimed that he was going in a Banksbear case and taking out Banksbear. This guy, Dolphin, you know, he was, you know, mentally challenged. And apparently he was passing and must he take a Banksbear or something from a box. And an Indian man in Strathspey shot him to death. And to this day, we are hearing nothing of that story. I want to put that story on the front burner. I see Leland Saul is here tonight. Leland, I want you all to take up that story. I'm going to call you and I'm going to brief you on that story. For taking up a bear, a mentally challenged African, pick up a bear from a bear box, and an Indian man shot him dead. And to this day, nothing from the story. If that is what they're doing, mentally disabled African, what will they do to Africans who are not mentally challenged? I be there on them, and I will have to stay on them. We got to fight this fight. And you all have no fear. If you are looking for one leader who is not backing down, it's me. I'm not nicing it up. I'm not sugarcoating it. Because I've earned the right to tell them as it is. Where was Jermaine Figueroa? Where was the Chronicle? Where was all of them from DPI? Because that's what they do. The letters in the newspaper come from DPI people. Where were they? When Ali stand up in Buxton and call me a clown and ask me if I know who is he. And when me take off Pani from this program, he never called me name, and after that, that's why I know he will never call David Hines a clown after that, because I dress you up and I dress you down. I remember short tail little bye. I didn't go run into the ERC. I didn't run to the Chronicle because me able with them. Good evening and welcome to Politics 101. We are doing it. Christopher Thomas, you done by? You're done. Flash Gordon, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Burke.
Good evening, sir.
And how are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
I noticed you had a hard night last night.
Did I?
Yeah, I noticed you were trying your best. You were trying your best to pray for our brother. I know you're a church boy, you're an Adventist boy, and you were trying to give him some sweet hour of prayer. But rough. So, you come on here tonight to condemn me for calling people like bottom Africans. If so, Mr. Burke, tell me straight up front.
I know not of what you speak, Doctor.
Rickford.
What I know
is
that the ERC is an anti-Black organization and they have no moral authority to speak and to condemn and to investigate anything, because amongst the ERC are Indian racists who condemn and call for violence against African Guyanese, including Amanda Walton this year.
I didn't know that,
and nobody has done anything. In addition to that, when you switched to me, I was in my phone. There's a young lady by the name of Priya Singh.
Yes.
Who made a post 2 weeks ago on something called PPPC family.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, God created the human race with each having a divine figurehead, except the Black race.
Mm-hmm.
Caucasians, Jesus, Arabs, Prophet Muhammad, Chinese, Confucius, Indians, Krishna, Buddha, Blacks, ? Why? Because God never created Blacks to be human. What the hell the ERC could tell me when they allowed something like this to pass? All of them can go to hell.
And because you're a church boy,
I'm gonna say hell.
You're gonna say hell.
Yes.
Rickford, we catch them, no?
No, so Dr. Hines, let me tell you what. First of all, they don't understand that you and I live in a society where we're fearless to confront race.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see race as taboo.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a society where historically, because of our race, we have been prejudiced against, disadvantaged. And we have experienced prejudice, rather, and we have been taken advantage of. And we live with hate in this country from some people. And so their institutions, their laws, their policies, and their guidelines to ensure fairness. Well, some people might say until now.
Yeah. There's always it goes and comes.
And so we boldly confront people who are racist. But in Guyana's context, they practice racism in the PPP. They have recently begun this thing of ethnic, not only triumphalism, but ethnic supremacy, where the people in the PPP see themselves as ethnically supreme to us, who are Afro-Guyanese and maybe Amerindians and mixed race, etc. But they don't want us to condemn it because they deem that as racism. So it's a new form of colonialism. It's a new form of colonialism. And I want to explain why people use certain terms. You see, you studied African American history. In slavery, as you know, during slavery, when a slave escaped the inhumane conditions and the brutality of slavery, you had some people who they kept in the house, the colonial masters, the slave masters, who come and snitch and reported to them that, hey, Tom Jones run up the road and gone. And they would send Tom Jones along with the masters, servants, and so on, white people, on their horses with whips and sticks to get back those escaped slaves. That's what the PPP is using some of us for. And that's why we use the term slave catchers, because that's the role they're playing. And so if you don't want to be called a slave catcher, do not accept the role of Massa, the new colonialist Barjack, they want the PPP to go after African Guyanese, to try to catch them, trap them, frame them, and whip them into being in the fold of the PPP. You're a slave catcher if you do that.
Rickford Burke here tonight, and we are talking about the recent developments as it relates to some of our own who are falling prey to the trap that is set for them, and we are trying to release them and relieve them from that kind of disaster. And for that, they're saying that we are divisive. We are dividing the country. We are insulting Africans. Oh, yeah. Insulting Africans. But look, for everyone who say that I'm wrong, there are 10,000. I would like to say to those who are condemning me, you are on the side of the few, and I am on the side of the many. The many Africans who feel uplifted for the last couple of days because they see one of their leaders standing up and poking his finger back in the eyes of those who poke them. I shall not surrender. I shall not apologize. I have work to do. Rickford, you did an interview with Brother James last night, and I know you know James. I know you regard James as a friend. Do you disagree, or are you mad that James has decided that he will join the PPP?
Well, everybody has their own political, the right to political association. What I find unfortunate is a reversal of what we thought were his convictions. Listen, if I were to join another political party, my integrity would not allow me to be dishonest. My integrity will allow me to say, here, listen, prior to this was my view, but now I'm here. I will work to make sure that what I saw, that what formed my views, change. And so, police brutality against Black people, I will work with that new political party to make sure it change. I can't disavow what happened in the past. I can't disavow my own statements. I can't disavow the fact that the PPP formed death squads that killed over 1,400 young African men. It is dishonest to deny that. It is dishonest to say that is the police force. Now, some corrupt police officers were co-opted into the death squads, but the death squad was formed by Barrett Jagdale and his cabal and financed by some members of the private sector commission. It is not the police. And so to now try to rewrite history because their numbers are down and they need Black votes and they try to go out there to recruit gullible people to then regurgitate that message, it's quite unfortunate. Now, you can be PPP if you want. Let me say this. It is And I want to use the word unfortunate deliberately. It is unfortunate that whenever someone from the opposition or an Afro-Guyanese joins the PPP, they have to strip themselves of their identity.
Yeah, yeah.
They have to strip themselves of their culture. They have to strip themselves of their previous convictions. And in doing so, they lose their integrity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, how could you sit and defend a party that shot you 33 times and say, no, the party did not shoot me, it was the police? Well, the police will operate on their own. How? So I don't care what they promise me. And I'm not implying that they promised James anything.
Right.
But you can't change. How can you change your convictions? How can you try to change reality? So last night, for an hour and a half, James tried to change reality. And that is unfortunate. Like you said, he's a friend of mine. And James and I have these battles privately all the time. All the time, we always clash. And we have these conversations. But I never expect him to try to change his conviction. The things that he has said me past, I have videos upon videos upon video of James saying exactly what we are saying here now about the PPP. How can you just change that? And not only change it, but defend the oppressor. Defend the oppressor. James has walked the road that you walk.
Yeah.
James saw what the PPP has done to African Guyanese. They are acting like the new colonial masters. Now, if he wants to join them, it is fine. But to try to join them to change reality and revise history is pretty unfortunate.
Yes.
And I would dare say that I don't believe the PPP would trust James. I am convinced in my heart that the PPP say, yeah, man, let me use it because, he can go there and talk to them little African Guyanese boys and so on. But I not put them too close to Freedom House, because, we're not too trusty. Yeah. I'm sure they're saying that.
Yeah. I'm so glad you raised that point, Rickford. There are Indians who are in opposition parties. There are Indians in the PNC. And the PNC don't put them where they have to deny their Indianness. The PNC doesn't, I fight against Burnham, but one thing Burnham never did was to have Indians strip themselves, Cessna and them remain pandits right throughout the time. They never deny their Indianness. And this is the thing the PPP is forcing these guys. And maybe in some instances, the PPP doesn't have to force them. They deny their blackness. Why can't you go into the PPP and remain black?
And stand up for the black constituency.
Yeah. That is, and they're pretending that they don't know what is it that we are talking about. And, paying attention to language and all that kind of thing. Who can use bad language more than Barajak?
Exactly.
But
Dr. Hines, they will not condemn Barajagdeo because they believe in East Indian supremacy. So they believe Barajagdeo has a right to say these things about Afro-Guyanese, but we can't say it back, right? It's ethnic supremacy. And I could understand if someone wants to disagree with you. People disagree with us all the time. You disagree with people. I disagree with people. I'm sure you disagree with some things I've said before. It is fine to disagree. That's your right. But the disproportionate condemnation, like you go condemn somebody who expresses a view, who has equal free speech just like you, and you can say whatever it is. Listen, the PPP supporters say the most nasty, evil things about Afro-Guyanese, and they get a pass because they are practicing East Indian supremacy. Hungry belly dogs, black people live in basement. I should go and take over all them black people and send them black people on welfare. All of these things they say. Even Barajagdeo himself says it. And it's acceptable. Now, don't tell me nothing but what David Hines or anybody else say who's Afro-Guyanese, unless you want to equally condemn Roshan Khan and everybody else who are anti-Black, who disrespect us on the basis of race and culture. I don't want to hear it. Now, if we want to have a conversation where we say we should avoid a certain type of language because it inflames people on the basis of ethnicity, let's have that conversation, but let us start in the PPP. Because I'm sure most of the times when Afro-Guyanese use certain terms that some of them deem derogatory, we are responding to hate speech. We are responding to hate speech. We have a right to respond. Now look at some of the things, some of them even today call me hungry belly, we live in basement. And it is not that they're attacking Rickford Burke. They're attacking my Afro-Guyanese-ness. Yes. Because if I was an East Indian and condemning the PPP, they want to tell me I'm a hungry belly dog or I live in a basement. That is their perception of Black people. It is something that is hereditary in the PPP. They slaughtered us throughout history, the PPP. Burnt our homes, burnt our villages, bombed some Chatman, committed the worst forms of domestic terrorism, and they don't say anything. Well, Afro-Guyanese person pick up a bottle to drink, right? A madman pick up a bottle to drink, they're gonna shoot him and kill him. You let Dr. David Hines express himself about betrayal by some Afro-Guyanese of their own race. Oh no, widespread condemnation. But they don't attack their own, because it is acceptable in the PPP for their members to attack Afro-Guyanese.
And that picture on the screen there was taken on December 5th, 2011, shortly after the election. We gathered at the Square of the Revolution for a march. James Bond was there. And there I was, because I was the most senior leader of the APNU on the march at that time. And there I was telling the policeman who was telling us that we don't have, I think it's Mr. Watts, that we don't have the right to march. And I was there explaining to him what the Constitution gave us. On that march, James Bond, Brigadier Collins, Takumo Ogunse, among others, were shot by the police. And James sat with Freddie Kisoon and them on a program and said he didn't know what David Hines was that day. James, this is what I was doing as the most senior leader on the march. I was telling the police about our right to march. That is why I was not at the front of the march. You know, and then James knows better. He was shot, 32 pellets, and so on. I mean, it's part of the struggle. But this picture, it tells where I was. I never shock my responsibility, Brother James, and you know that. You know that. You know that. Rickford, I want to talk to you about this issue of the Mocha Arcadia people. And you played last night some clips. And as I was looking at those clips, because I was on the ground there, and I saw some of what happened in my own eyes. But as I watched you play that stuff last night, I broke down. I broke down. Because as a kid, I used to hear about those things in South Africa. Never thought it would happen in Guyana. Never thought it would happen in Guyana. Your thoughts on the court's handling of that issue?
Well, you sure you want to hear my views about the court handling?
Yes.
I think that the decision by the Chief Justice was misguided. Now, I would separate the decision in two parts. Now, if she's following the law, and she's saying based on the law, there is no documented evidence that these people are entitled to the land. That's one thing. But for her to dismiss their petition for compensation is callous. It's callous. And it is one of the reasons why people have lost confidence, or why certain members of society have lost confidence in the judicial system. How a judge can justify a decision to dismiss prayers or petition from those people for compensation when there's evidence that the government destroyed their livelihoods. The government destroyed their homes, was brutal, dragged them through the mud, shot at them, shot them, buried their animals alive, their livestock, destroyed their merchandise. It is callous. It is callous. It is divorced from reasoning. No other court in the world will rule that way. None. Like I said, I'm separating whether they were able to produce documents to show that they are entitled to the land. I'm separating that. But certainly, the Chief Justice is human. And she must know that if you destroy willfully, wantonly, recklessly, maliciously, the livelihoods of people, destroy their homes, destroy their businesses, destroy their farms, kill their livestock, you are entitled to be compensated. Good God. So I think that the dismissal of the lawsuit for compensation itself was inhumane, just as inhumane as their eviction from the land. And I hope that they appeal that decision. Now, and I want to say this, I have been advocating for the Chief Justice to be appointed, and I saw that some people have been attacking me for that. I believe in that because I believe in principles of democracy. And we should be able to criticize a particular decision that when we think she gets it wrong, and also support the fact that the government must respect the woman, must respect her service, must respect the fact that if she's good enough to serve, she's good enough to be confirmed. So I want to make that distinction. And nothing, no ruling that she has made would change even if she rules against me, would change my principled belief that she should be confirmed. Now, coming back to this issue, you heard me say to James last night, would you advocate for those people to go back on their lands? Because the government lied to us.
Yes.
If this was Jamaica or any other Caribbean country, that government couldn't last. No government in the Caribbean could withstand what they did to the people in Mocha. But Guyanese are passive, and Guyanese have short memories. So we will not use this as a galvanizing force to vote them out. Some people will fall prey to their propaganda. But now I see, the people is divided. I see Nanlal calling for the PNC to now support these people because they're hopeless and homeless. They don't have respect for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
They kicked us out of our lands, kicked those Mocha people from their homes, destroy their livelihood. And then you have an East Indian Attorney General calling those Black people hopeless and homeless, deliberately demeaning them, dehumanizing them. It is unacceptable. Then you have Ali playing good cop, saying, oh, the government is compassionate. No, the government is not compassionate. The government is brutal and inhumane. And it is the responsibility of the government to take care of them. Who they want to take care of them? Nicolas Maduro? They must go to Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela or go to the Brazilian government? They're Guyanese citizens, and the government removed them from their land. They have a disagreement in the manner in which they were removed. And they have a disagreement with the level of compensation that the government was offering them. And so they went to the courts. That's their right. Don't tell me that those Afro-Guyanese are hopeless and homeless and Nanlal. You guys rendered them hopeless and homeless. And you guys have a responsibility now, even though the Chief Justice did not compel the government to compensate them justly. They still have that responsibility. And I think the fact that the Chief Justice did not compel them to compensate those people is very unfortunate and inhumane.
Inhumane. Rickford Burke here tonight. We needs no introduction to us, and we're talking through issues that are pressing ones. Good evening to all the wonderful people of Golden Grove, Haslington, and the Blacklist. That's the Tri-Village area of Mr. Quindon Bacchus, who you saw in the clips earlier. Good evening to his family. Good evening to Ernest Elliott, the senior political activist, now semi-retired, but a member of parliament, and Ernest continues to witness for us in that village. Good evening. Good evening to all of you there. How about the people in Ansgrove? I haven't checked in with you for a while. One of my favorite villages. Good evening to you there in Ansgrove, Beehive, Clombrook. And I know me little geography. Good evening to Robin Simon, who's taken up the mantle there in Golden Grove, in the Backlist area. From the famous Peterkin family. They lost the matriarch a few months ago. I had the pleasure of being part of a team that interviewed her because she was displaced from Enmore during the disturbances of the 1960s. And what a story she told, very eloquent. Was very glad that I got the opportunity to spend some time with her and that our children are continuing the struggle. Myrna Peterkin, one of our daughters, served as a member of parliament. So it runs in the family. And to all of you in that wonderful place, I like to call Golden Grove, the Backlist area, Haslington, the home of karaoke in Guyana. You must get about 6 karaoke there when weekend come. Yeah, people from all over just go there. And before karaoke became a big thing in Guyana in the early to mid 90s, that was the first place I started going to karaoke, at the Peterkin's place. That I get a little step in front of and it's still there. We used to sit down there and the karaoke and so on. Good evening to all of you. And of course, I'm not forgetting the people in North Enmore. I always think we've thought about Enmore as Enmore, right? Enmore Sugar Estate, Indo-Guyanese, and then you learn that there's North Enmore, Black people area. Good evening to all of you there, and welcome to Politics 101. Rickford, we are hearing about Guyana taking deportees from other countries into Guyana. Tell us what you've been hearing.
Well, I haven't heard anything other than what I've seen in the news and seen in the news in Guyana and seen in the news here. It's kind of concerning. I want to see what this arrangement is. As Guyanese, both at home and abroad, we hope that our country would not be infiltrated by criminal elements. I recall when the Haitians were in Guyana, they were expelled, or they were imprisoned, as far as I'm concerned, because they were held in captivity. They were held against their will. And so we don't know what arrangement is being worked out. I believe in international conventions that allow persons who have been displaced from their homes, or persons who, under the International Torture Convention, can be accommodated in other countries. And so I don't want to shut the doors to persons suffering from a humanitarian crisis, but I would like to see what arrangement has been entered into with the United States government. And I also believe that before a government enters such a serious arrangement, there should be wide consultation with civil society and the political opposition. The PPP doesn't own Guyana, even though they believe they do. And so I hope that there will be widespread consultation to, if necessary, accommodate the humanitarian needs of persons of other nationalities, if that is what it is. But I'll be very concerned if they're actual convicted criminals who are sent to Guyana. Like I said before, I want to make sure that I don't say Guyana should be closed to persons internationally who are experiencing a humanitarian crisis, because if our citizens from Guyana do experience a humanitarian crisis and have to flee from their homes, we would want other countries to take them in. So we want to make sure that we comply with international conventions. But I would want to see widespread consultation in the country, that the citizens of Guyana are kept abreast and appraised of whatever engagement and arrangement they have with the United States government. And there should be some sort of national accord or national understanding about what the government is doing.
And most importantly, we hope that our government does not bring in immigrants and use them for electoral purposes.
To artificially engineer the population.
Yes.
Which I suspect that is what they're trying to do.
Yes, and that is what we are not going to stand for. Rickford Burke is here tonight, and we are addressing a number of issues. In case you've just joined us, we earlier played two calypsos, one by the Mighty Crocro called Lake Bottom Africans, and then we played one called Unity by Sugar Aloes, Michael Osuna, and he said that Pandey must tell the Indianists in Trinidad that he only got into power because of two jackass Africans. And I know that Rickford's faith allow him to use the word jackass. And oh Lord, Rickford, if we had 3 Calypsonians like that in Guyana, if we
they'll be banned, they'll be jailed, they will be charged with cyber crimes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Rickford, what are you hearing about the census?
Well, my sources said that the census is being manipulated. The census data is being manipulated, and more than one of my contacts within the Census Bureau, as a matter of fact, since I spoke out about it, they got it on the lock and key. But I'm hearing that the census showed that the population dropped to about 115 to 112, 715 therearound, and that they have been told to let it go upwards towards 1 million, and there's some problem with that. Now, I can see why, because as you probably would have seen recently, the Elections Commission announced that the voters list is now 770-something thousand. I mean, it is crazy. Seems as though the voters list is more than the population of Guyana. Bearing in mind, everybody's not registered. Bearing in mind that over 250,000 people in the country are below age 18. So I don't understand how the Elections Commission is going to justify this number that is equal to the population. And I think the opposition should not participate in an elections without one biometrics and without a new voters list. It is reprehensible that these people at the Elections Commission are sitting there manufacturing people. I mean, I'm not sure who is engaging in reproductive activities there, but they seem to be manufacturing hundreds of thousands of people per year at the Elections Commission, and it's unacceptable. Again, my view, CGID's view, is that the opposition should not participate in an election where there is no new voters list and where there's not biometric.
New voters list and biometrics, those are the calls of the opposition, and we hope that all of you pick up that call and make it the issue of our time. The issue of our time. The People's Progressive Party, I understand they're sweating Rickford, because I understand the Indian population has decreased because of outward migration, especially since after 2020. With
Yes.
all the development in Guyana,
Development, development.
why are your supporters leaving and running away from development?
And also, I understand that the reason they created this crash grant initiative is to find a way to validate the census. And they're even more confused now because the cash grant registration is at over 200,000 less than the census. And my understanding is that they're trying to say, well, they lost the data. They didn't lose the data. The people never existed. The people don't exist. So they're trying to now reconcile the cash grant registration data with the census, and they can't do it. So look out that they'll make up some figure. See, Sabin Hughes saying that their sources told them that the census is going to come out somewhere around 812,000. That is inaccurate. That is inaccurate. And I hope the people at the Census Bureau are preserving the data, the raw and original data that they got from the census, because this is going to be a serious court battle.
A serious court battle. Transparency International just rated Guyana somewhere in around 35 out of 100 in their index. They have also said that Guyana is held captive, the government of Guyana held captive by the economic and political elites. Your thoughts?
Well, it's true. What we see developing in Guyana is a society of oligarchs. And they're getting their money from corruption. From corruption. And I noticed, Gail, Teixeira and the president, they're arguing that Transparency International make their conclusions based on perception. All of a sudden, they're objecting to the methodology. When the Granger administration was in power, they didn't object to the methodology, but now it's coming back to them. And every time they're in power, it's in their genes. It's in their DNA. Every time the PEP is in power, our corruption index drops.
That's right.
It is because they're involved in massive corruption. I've spoken with Dr. Clive Thomas. He sent me some of the data. His research showed that Barry Jagdev's administration, the PPP, from between 1999 and 2015, when they came into power, stole about $5 billion US. They either stole it directly through public corruption or they siphoned it off from the economy. $5 billion US. There should have been a serious international inquiry, but the David Granger administration failed to do that. These people are corrupt. It's in their DNA. They can't help it. And now there's more corruption because we have oil resources. We have oil revenues. And there's nothing in the oil fund right now. We see ministers of the government on the FBI investigation. We see the CEO of the Central Housing and Planning Authority on the investigation. The man has several multi-million-dollar homes in the United States. Now, how was that money transferred? Where did he get that money from? They're going after Brutus. But when you combine the cost of all these homes that the former head of the Central Housing and Planning Authority has, it's like 3 times the amount of money they say Brutus have in an account. And is it Brutus alone? Why are they going after him? Why are they not going after all of these people with hundreds of millions of dollars in bank accounts? Where are they getting that money from? I submit, based on the United States government, what they have said in their various reports, they were getting it from public corruption, bribery, kickbacks, procurement fraud, and all of that. And it should be investigated. I understand a new sanctions list is dangling over Guyana. I hope that it released it soon.
Hope they release it soon. And, you know, I spoke earlier about that case in Strathspey, just next door to Buxton. A young, mentally impaired young man may have picked up a bottle of beer from a case in front of a business place, and he was shot dead by the businessman. He comes from the Dolphin family in Buxton. And we haven't heard anything about that case since then. I haven't heard anything. You remember the case?
Yes.
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 And the people in Buxton have asked me to raise that matter. And I'm raising it here tonight, and I'm going to raise it with the Committee Against Discrimination of African Guyanese and others for them to look into that case. The businessman who is Indo-Guyanese had lodged this gun at the police station, and that's the last we heard.
Mm-hmm. And when we talk about it, they say we're being divisive.
Yes, that's the last we heard. There can be two justice systems, one for some and one for the others. No, we have got to straighten the crooked streets and the crooked roads and the crooked highways, because Guyana belongs to all of us.
It's just like the Henry Boy's killing.
Yes.
You notice today the Parliament refused to engage in a discussion. The Speaker denied a discussion on this killing. I mean, we're Afro-Guyanese. We feel like we're in apartheid South Africa, where our life doesn't have any values, but Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter.
I think Richard is asking, with all the corruption and extrajudicial killing, why no one was prosecuted when you all were in government? And I think you just raised that, Rickford. You know, there were some errors that we made.
Of course, people were prosecuted.
Yes.
Where does he live? There were people who were prosecuted for corruption, and they stretched out in the courts. And then when they came back into power in 2020, the Director of Public Prosecutors dropped those charges. But like I was saying last night to James Bond, and I was correct, the appeals court ordered that all of those people from the PPP stand trial. They attempted to get those charges dismissed. And all of the courts in Guyana said that there was sufficient evidence for those charges and ordered them to stand trial. Now, I believe it was a terrible mistake, and I've criticized President Granger for this, for not having a commission of inquiry into the extrajudicial killings. It was ridiculous. It was one of the biggest failures of the coalition government. They campaigned on that, and they failed the people.
Yes, there were some errors that we made, and I think it was more errors of judgment, because I don't think that our leaders understood the political climate in Guyana. I mean, there was Jack Dio saying, if Granger come into your communities, chase them out, chase them out. Now, can you imagine Rickford Burke saying that, or I saying that? Oh Lord, you'll hear them tomorrow. And
well, I don't really care, because I say it.
Yes.
I say chase them out. When they come into our communities, chase them out. And for instance, Barrett Jagdale called members of the Guyana Defense Force criminals. Yeah. He said they will come knock down your doors and rape your daughters.
Yeah.
And steal your stuff.
Yes.
Nobody said anything. Why? Jagdale is perceived to be subscribing to ethnic supremacy. And they can say anything, but we can't. But I don't subscribe to that. When they come after me, I'll go after their throats back. When they talk to me using hate speech, I will condemn them and tell them what I think of their speech.
Rickford Burke here tonight, and for those of you who are joining us a little bit late, we started out by talking about the big noise that is being made in Guyana about statements I made here exactly a week ago. And we got them where we wanted them, because they took up a show me can, me na call no foul. But they come and they pick up the corn, and now they've sent it to all the four corners of Guyana.
Of the world. But Dr. Hines, before I go, let me say this.
Yes.
People from the Indian Arrival Committee, they have the right to speak, they have a right to organize, they have a right to do everything else. People from the indigenous community, they say what they want, they do what they want, they have their activities. Why it is that the East Indians in the PPP have a problem with Afro-Guyanese who don't support them and they want to oppress us? For instance, Anil Nanlal wrote a letter. Well, I think he's one of the biggest racists in the country. He wrote a letter saying Black people don't have a right to discuss whether or not the PPP is an apartheid regime. You have him arguing up to yesterday that people must not condone what some people say, but then they could say things against us. So I'm wondering, and I want the population of Guyana, the entire population, to ponder why it is the people in the PPP who practice ethnic supremacy have a problem with Afro-Guyanese leaders expressing themselves and exercising free speech, why they have a problem with us criticizing each other for what we deem to be betrayal, why they have a problem when we have talk shows that invite who we want on those shows. It seemed to me that they want to tell us how we must speak. They want to tell us who we must speak to. They want to tell us who our leaders should be. That sounds like apartheid. That sounds like a modern form of slavery, and we must reject it. We must reject it resolutely.
We must reject it resolutely. Rickford Burke here tonight, and whenever Rickford speaks, he gets them trembling. You will hear Jack Dio, what you all call it, say Bundarina, you all just call it. On Thursday, going to start to carry on, and Rickford Burke. You know, Rickford, they wrote to my university years ago. And I thought they were going to write and say David Hines is a racist, but they write and say David Hines has friends like Rickford Burke and Mark Benchop as a racist. And my university must tell me that I mustn't keep friends who are racist. You know, if this thing was not serious, Rickford, if it were not serious, you know, I mean, we could laugh until the cows come home.
But you know, it is the same mentality I just spoke about. They like to write people that we are associated and friends with to see if they could discredit us. Oh, I'm going to write the congressman, or finally give a speech criticizing me. Oh, we call on the congressman to talk to Rickford. Rickford is his own person. Rickford has his own individuality. Nobody could influence what I say. I exercise my independence and my free speech. No, I'm not going to abuse my speech. I'm not going to go out there and call any person a hungry belly dog. I'm not going to go there and call a black woman a low life. I'm not going to go out there and say Christians don't have no God. Because I'm not a member of the PPP.
You are not a member of the PPP.
I'm not.
Good evening to all of you. You all have come out in your numbers tonight. Shondell, Griffith, Andrea Boston, P.R. Cock, who's this? Miss Bovell. Good evening to all of you. Without you, there would be none of these shows. We do it because you want us to do it. And I want to thank some of you. I know I have a few of you sent in contributions, and I have to thank you. And I told you all must remember to put on the banner at the bottom, and you all don't remember. You all remember. It's just, I just remember it because I watch Rickford and I see money right all over Rickford's face. So I said I put it up here. So please send
the looks are deceiving, Doctor. Please. By the way, Doctor, we're gonna have the Washington Conference on Guyana this year again.
Okay, beautiful. Rickford, as we close out, in a couple of days we will be celebrating our 55th anniversary of Republican status. The PNC this past week celebrated the 70th anniversary of the birth of the party and the 102nd birthday of Forbes Burnham. Speak to those three landmarks.
Well, I saw the PNC's anniversary celebration. It's a little different, and I'm observing. In terms of matrimony, I think it's time for us to have, and people are going to say I'm being divisive, but I think what the PPP does for matrimony is disrespectful to the nation. So it's time to have two matrimonies. The real matrimony, let the PPP go and have their matrimony, because obviously they want to de-emphasize it and emphasize on independence. And but matrimony is our celebration of the Republican status of the nation. Mashimani, that celebration was dedicated to the indigenous people. And so it's a desecration of their heritage for the PPP to diminish Mashimani to where it is today. I'm struck by the fact that we have not developed this into a real national cultural celebration. It's disappointing. Every other country has their form of cultural celebration in the form of carnival, Crop festival in terms of Montserrat, carnival in Antigua, all the other countries that have carnival and whatever they call it. And we have Mashimani, and it's a disgrace, especially whenever the PPP is in power. It's a mockery to the original idea of Mashimani. And so I would like to see some people in Guyana get together, and if the government does not want to participate, let's have real Mashimani that matches Carnival or Crop Over. Now I see that in April they do something called Carnival. They're just diluting the culture. And they're deliberately diluting our culture because they want to de-emphasize things that were created or the aspect of our heritage that were emphasized by the People's National Congress government. And I think it's an insult to the nation. And let us have real Mashimani, and let the PP have whatever they want to call it. They could march down Freedom House in front of Rob Street in front of Freedom House and do whatever they want. But we should have Mashimani.
Mashimani. And while we're rich, congratulations to Miss Diana Chapman, who captured the Soca Monarch on Saturday evening. Diana Chapman from Linden, so the people up there at Linden would be celebrating. She comes from the famous Son Chapman family. She is the daughter, I think, of the owner of Son Chapman, Mr. Chapman. Rickford, as usual, my pleasure having you on. Short notice, but we do it to each other all the time. So I was glad that you came on tonight.
Thanks for having me. Good night to you and your listeners.
Thank you.
All right.
And to you, our audience, big up yourself. And as usual, stay firm, stay strong. No apologies, no backing down, no surrender. No surrender. We are on a mission, and we are going to complete this mission. We need all soldiers on deck, battle wear, and get ready. I'll see you all tomorrow evening, tomorrow night for all my Europeans in the house. I'll see you all tomorrow night. Audrey Brown, good night. Ivor Miller, good night. Selwyn Benjamin, good night to you. Lorraine Walcott, I think I see my brother Leland Aubrey Saul. Right, make a nice name. Emily, good night. Good night to you, Carl Miller. And I am going to see you all tomorrow night, same time, same place, for another edition of Politics 101.